Good afternoon. Thank you so much for staying here this late. We appreciate it. It's been a great day. Some great panels, talking about transformation, innovation, and empowerment. And they saved ours for last. We have a great message for you. Everybody who's here is either employed or an employer. And all of us have had to attract and retain talent. I know we've talked preparing for this panel quite a bit. And in that exercise of attracting and retaining talent for our organizations, one of the things that we as recruiters take into consideration is motivational compatibility. How will that candidate fit into our culture? How will that candidate fit into our functions? And how will it fit geographically? And when we talk about that, our employers are very conscious about how their culture is built and how they are attractive. And that brings us to the subject that we're going to talk about today, because it was March 13, 2020, when we all got the call, the pandemic is on. And we told all of our employees, go home and take the office home with you. And they did. And they did very well. And we all survived. We did well. We're going to hear your stories about how that happened and what happened while it was happening. But a couple of years later, we told them, hey, come back. And So we managed going home very easily. We gave them computers, we gave them internet, and we created structures. We'll talk about those. But we're asking them to come back, and when we told them take the office home, how do we bring the home back to the office? I think that's what opens the conversation. Now we have some great experts here. They're going to talk about commercial real estate. We're going to talk to Greg. Greg, I'm going to start with you because Greg is our CEO of money.com, or the CEO of Money. That's a great name. And I understand you employ 115 Puerto Ricans here in Puerto Rico, and you've lived through this experience. I have a quote from your publication that we're going to go into in a minute. But I'd like to learn about that experience, I know you're setting up an office right now, what you took into consideration, bringing those people back in, and how are you managing that?
Sure. So my name is Greg Powell. I started my career working at Google in Silicon Valley. And I had an idea for a business. I wanted to be in publishing. I wanted to create great content for people. I learned about the incentives, and that was what originally put Puerto Rico on my radar. But when I came down here, what really attracted me was the people that I met and the community that I became a part of. I think that having come from Silicon Valley and having worked there for close to a decade, you go to Google and it's everything that you see in the movies, right? It's like there's literally a slide that's coming into the lobby, and it goes into a ball pit, and they serve you three meals a day, and they do your laundry, and all of these things are sort of they become part of the culture of most of the companies that exist in Silicon Valley. And so when I came here, the goal and the vision was to replicate that type of relationship between the company and the employees that I had experienced throughout my early career when I was working for Google. And so we opened an office. Initially, it's important to note that the whole business was built here. I didn't. It's not like I had a business that we moved down here. We came here. We hired two people. One of them, I think, Colin, might still be here in the room. I'm not sure, but there were three of us. We sat in an office in Dorado, and we had snacks and we had drinks, and it was kind of my best effort to replicate it. He'll probably tell you that we fell pretty far short, but over time, I've continued to think that it's really important to create an experience where people feel excited to come into the office, because I think that that's how some of the best work gets done. So it takes a long time to do that. We sent everybody home during the pandemic, as you said, and like many businesses, our business did very well through the pandemic because everyone went online. And so our whole business is advertising. People are going online. thinking about their personal finances. Mortgage rates are going to zero, and they're looking for what their best options are. And it was a huge tailwind for the business as a whole. And so initially, the business performed really well with everyone in a remote capacity. But what we found over time, especially as we tried to hire to keep up with the growth and have more and more people joining the team, was that it was really challenging for those new people who were coming on board who didn't know other members of the team. It was more difficult for them to make connections, and so as we've thought about bringing people back into an office space and the type of space that we want to create, having that community element has been really important for us, and that's why we ultimately decided on this space at Distrito T-Mobile that we've been building for close to a year and excited to open in the first quarter of next year.
Congratulations, Greg. And I'm sure starting that business in the house in Dorado with 3 people, that was no small deal. You know, I've seen the houses there, so that must have been great. But growing your business throughout the pandemic and now moving into office space, there was some time for you to think about this. And during that same time, I'm going to talk to Gilberto right now from Paulson Group. I know that Paulson, when I first learned about Paulson Group, I learned about the hotel investment at the Vanderbilt, and since then I know their business has grown quite a bit. And I know that during the pandemic, you learned about what your clients were wanting as they were coming back. And so I wanted to learn about how did you gain that insight, what you do with it, and what are you doing about it now?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to being here. My name is Gilberto Garcia. I work for Paulson Puerto Rico. I'm the CEO for the office portfolio. We are in Ato Rey, specifically in 250 Muñoz Rivera, known as UBS building, and 270 Muñoz, also known as McConnell Valdez building. So, as you mentioned before, in March 13, all the lives of our people and our life changed dramatically. We saw on the news news from France, people sanitizing the streets, many stuff, and we were so afraid about what's coming next and how to maintain a business open, not only for us, because as a humans, I'm a father, and I also have my own. I'm afraid to many things. So as a human, but also how to teach my employees and to give direction to my tenants, because our tenants were also like, hey Gilberto, what's next? What we are doing? What's coming? Our businesses need to stay open. But for some time, the judges' court were closed. Also the mail service was closed. Everything was closed in Puerto Rico. But we also faced some challenges with law firms because lawyers didn't have too much to do with courts closed. So by that time, we start to give our not only our employees but our tenants, empathy. We also heard all of them to understand their challenges, how to get with them. Now that the pandemic passed, there are times to bring the employee back, and how we can improve the commodity I believe is the right word. How comfortable you are in your house, working at home, and how we can help our tenants to bring their employees back. So that's why we took the time during those 3 years. We made some internal studies, internal market studies as well, and we decided to deploy a significant capital investment in our buildings, just to make sure when the pandemic was over, people has something to do in our buildings, because it is a fact that the pandemic changed the rules and changed the game. Hybrid working come to stay, and how we can improve that, because for many years, and let me see how the let me understand how I'm going to say this. It will sound funny, but it's true. We used to have tenants that has offices bigger than their ego. So a huge offices. And the pandemic brought new rules. People understand that I don't need a huge office. I don't need to have, like my own golf range in my office. I don't need it. People get accustomed to work from home in a single table with just a space that is not enough, like probably 5 foot counter or something like that. And then people realize what is really needed. So this brought new standards. Tenants come back and says, "Man, Gilberto, I need to reduce my space. I have too much space. I need people to go. My people is going hybrid. So what we can do with that?" This brought also space reductions, as I mentioned, and with these space reductions, the next question was, what are we going to do with this space? Other thing that we start to face and to see was that one tenant for a full floor was like a white elephant in the middle of the room. It's like it's not typical right now. What we are receiving, thanks to the acts, that incentives that we have, are people that are coming to Puerto Rico and they are looking for small offices like 1,200, 1,500, and instead of having a full floor, we just realized that, hey, let's prepare a small offices for these people that are coming to Puerto Rico. And the other challenge that we have been talking is about permits. It's really tough to find permits for development. And I like a phrase that, I'm sorry, my friend, I forget your name, but he mentioned that the government is a facilitator. It's not a developer, and this is what is right, and this is what we need, to improve. We will need to move the economic of Puerto Rico, and we also like to get more tenants and more clients coming to Puerto Rico. We need to make their life easier. So that's why we decided to go and to prepare the office to pass all the work, us as landlord, to get a permit, to get everything. So for them this is your office, and you are ready, it's plug and play. And that is probably at a higher cost, yes, but this is the premium. That's why we make money. So and a single person that comes to the States and wants to lease a small office space for 1,500 rental square feet, and you tell them, this is your office, you have furniture, you have everything, and it's for $29, $20, $30 per square foot base rent. For them, it's cheap because it's a small office. It's not too much money. But at the end, you will have a full floor with an average base rent significantly higher than if you lease the space for a single tenant. So in align with that, we also decided, okay, it's time to make capital improvements because people are at home. The building is almost empty, even though people were coming to work. So we start to do, we deployed approximately $9.2 million redoing all the elevators, all the restrooms, all the common area hallways, and these individual offices. So when now people are coming, it is like every single sale that you are doing. When you go to the shopping, when you go to the grocery store, we are trying to to work with the, I don't know if it's properly said in English, it's venta por impulso. I don't know, it's impulse buy. If you go to a car dealership, there is a reason by which they want you to take the car, and the probability that you arrive to a car dealership and you leave the car dealership with a new car is more than 70, 75, 80%. Why? Because all the scenario is set so you can get out of the dealership with a new car. That's what we create at our buildings. We prepare everything for these clients so we can make their life and their work to come into Puerto Rico easier. And that's why, that includes also other things that we have made in regards of leasing, how to promote our buildings and how to help others to know about us. We also open to a new brokerage community. We used to have exclusivity with a single real estate broker. Now we are open to everyone, and most of the all real estate brokers bona fide in Puerto Rico that has a license, they have our property in their plans. So everyone is aligned with with us. This is something else that we do to improve, because those times that we were facing in Puerto Rico went with some challenges, So in regards of our clients now, in the going into the future, helping these tenants with their employees coming back, along with all of these new projects that we have developed and established, we are also bringing new amenities to the property, because employees would like to have a place to do exercise. If an employee feels bad or not well, we would like to have also within the wellness center like a center to get immediate immediate attention, and if additional research or studies needed, we can have them to the next hospital. So align with that, with the wellness center, concierge areas, new restaurants, so people can have a place to sit and to eat. So this is what the new tendency is going from our perspective. Smaller office spaces with new amenities, trying to support, because we are going to compete with the commodity to be at home, but not all employees are ready to work from home, and not all positions are also made it to work from home. As an example, the technician need to be there. You can tight the screw from your house, so it's the same thing. And also you have other employees that get experts in Netflix and Disney Plus and all other things. So, but basically, essentially, our goal was, to improve our people's experience, and there is the premium. We also own the largest hotel portfolio in Puerto Rico, so many of our clients, if they want to stay at our hotels, we help them, and we extend our corporate rates to our clients. This is another amenity. Also, if you want to buy a car, we also own the largest car dealership this is a non-paid announcement.
It sounds a little bit like it, but that's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much, Gilberto. And it was great talking about how we started the conversation, talking about how offices used to be as big as the egos of the people that worked in them. I think that was a great statement. I'll borrow that one. And how making it easy for your tenants by facilitating everything from the permits to the design, making offices that are more practical, that was great too. And making it accessible. Something that touched on me a lot was the amenities, how you're bringing in new and different amenities. And talking to our next panelist, Jacobo, is a dear friend of mine from many years ago. I'm not going to say how many, but we've seen great transformations. Okay, the needs of the commercial tenant regarding their employees and bringing them a place for them to work has changed. We've seen that. I've seen Las Brisas Management Group, your company, do great, extraordinary transformations with older buildings, with newer buildings that needed redesign afterwards. You know what? How does that? I mean, I know you're also an employer of about 80 to 100 people. How have you been working with that transformation to accommodate your clients' needs now as we're bringing them back to the office?
Thank you, Franco. It goes back to understanding who your customer is. And your customer can be your tenant, your customer can be your tenant's employees, and figuring out, especially when you're repositioning a building, you have to figure out who should be in that building, why, what are the amenities that they need to attract that target, and then you go out and lease it. What we try to focus on are the employees of our tenants and providing services so that they want to stay there forever. So I'll give you an example. During Maria, we very quickly realized that we needed to reopen all those buildings quickly. So we transformed every lobby that we managed into an oasis for the employees of our tenants and for the community. That meant bringing ice machines to all the buildings, washer dryers. We hired masseuse and hairstylists who were out of work, and we brought them for 2 or 3 months to all the different lobbies in the buildings that we managed.
That's creative.
Not only because it was a good business idea, but it was also the right thing to do. But it goes back to understanding, who your target is and what are their needs. In some buildings where we have a lot of working moms, we offer yoga classes in the afternoon or at noon because they don't have time to go to the gym because they're picking up kids after work. So we always try to find who, through data research, and focus groups, who are they, what do they need, and how do we address those needs?
Thank you so much, Jacobo. And that expression of creating an oasis, it's definitely something that we need in our work. When we're looking at our offices and bringing the people back to work. One of the articles I read in Money.com talks about this controversy between the management that says everybody should come back, and the article says that the employees that are now remote, 50% of them would look for a different opportunity if they were asked to come back to the office full time. But that leaves us with a great challenge. Our clients, the organizations, my clients that recruit, your clients that hire, your advertisers, they all want to attract, retain that talent. And they do so by building a culture. And we need to admit that a culture, of course, is very tied to the values that the employees share and how they express those values in their day-to-day work. But it's really hard to do that when you're sitting at home. And I know that full office work is still not a trend. I don't see it coming back full, but the hybrid model is coming. So Greg, I'd like to, I know that you're bringing them back. I've read about your company and I've met you and I've read about your culture. How did you work with the cultures? They were remote, and how are you bringing that into context when you chose your new site to build a stronger team?
So I love that. I love that example. My team is sending me very subtle messages about their preferences on what they want to be doing on a go-forward basis.
It's in your magazine.
Yes, yeah. I know. So I think that from my perspective, there are a lot of different things that you have to be considering when you're thinking about designing the right policies for a team to thrive. And I think number one is the business need and what's going to be most effective for the company itself. Initially in the pandemic, when everyone went home, we initially saw a surge in productivity. There were fewer interruptions. People were able to get through their day and get a lot more work done. But then, like I was describing, as more people joined the team, and maybe as things kind of went on for months and then for years, we saw business performance start to decline. And I think that when you remove the opportunity for water cooler talk, when the only way to get an answer is to schedule a 30-minute increment, maybe the next available appointment is next week, you really slow down the pace of innovation and the pace that the business is able to perform. So it's important to have people together sometimes in order to facilitate those types of relationships between the employees, as well as just the opportunity to communicate more effectively. I think number two is the team. I think that people are inherently social creatures. I think that people enjoy spending time with each other, solving complicated problems. People might think that they want it to be easy, but it's actually, the satisfaction actually comes from solving hard problems and overcoming obstacles. And so I think that when you're thinking about your teams and bringing people together, there's that element, but there's also, well, if you're a manager, you're going to have to be dealing with some employees who are going to be, moaning to you about how you're making them come into the office, and they're like, I don't want to commute, and there was an accident, or it's raining, or whatever.
But it was raining before. It always rained.
That's right. I grew up in Seattle. I don't have a lot of empathy for the rain argument. That's like my whole life. But before Puerto Rico, anyway. So I think that it's both your current team as well as the team that you want to attract. I think that if you take a very hard stance and you say we're 100% in the office all the time, you see some bigger tech companies who might have the brand to be able to demand that. Maybe they've got the compensation packages to be able to demand that. I think that it's more realistic for many businesses to have more of a hybrid approach, because we do want to attract and retain the best talent that we can, and you need to have the right work-life balance in order to do that. And then number three is every individual person in the team. That includes myself. I'm a father. I like to exercise. I like to fit my life into my day-to-day work. And I think that if you have a gym that is closer to your house, you have to make sure that you have access to showers and access to gym equipment close to the office. And if you don't, then you're gonna people are going to want to make sure that they can still fit that into their schedule one way or the other. And so I think that when you survey the team and you ask them and say, all right, well, 50% of them are going to put their foot down and they're going to quit, or they're going to find somewhere else to work. Whether that's totally accurate or not, I do think that people are thinking about all three of these audiences. They're thinking about, well, what's good for me with the business? Are we going to hit our goals? Are we going to hit our numbers? What's good for my team? How am I going to build a great team and retain the team and hire more people in the future? And then, what's my wife gonna say? Because if I'm leaving every day an hour and a half earlier, and I'm getting home every day an hour and a half later, that's going to have an impact on my personal quality of life as well. So I think that for all of those reasons, moving towards a balanced approach is most appropriate for a business of our size, of kind of our where we are in our growth trajectory, and the types of things that I think are most important to me for the culture of the company as I'm thinking about designing policies.
If I can add to that, we manage around 22 office buildings, around 2 million square feet. Within that you have maybe 150 companies. And what we've seen is that most companies haven't downsized. What most companies have done, and it's a reflection of their values, is that they're hybrid. Many of those companies were hybrid before, and now they've agreed either by department or by group how many days a week they're going to be in the office. What we have found is that the office utilization, and that's a made-up term, how many people are using the office space, has increased steadily since the pandemic. In those 2 million square feet, what we're seeing is around 80 to 85% of the spaces are being used on a regular basis. That doesn't mean that you have all the employees there one day, but the offices are being occupied. So that's an encouraging factor. But to Greg's point, it's organizations are a reflection of the leadership's values, the founders' values, and companies that are finding that right balance are succeeding, and it's no longer a problem.
Yeah, I think balance was the key word in Greg's comment. When we talk about having people at home, having people at the office, it's created a new environment, because during the pandemic, it was easy. We were all at home. And now some of us are at home, some of us are at the office, and we have to work differently. And the balance that we create and how do we maintain that balance, I think that somehow must have affected the office design. For us, for example, in our office in Costa Rica, we moved to a shared space. Our team comes in, not everybody comes in every day, but there's always people. There's a social element that's necessary. The water cooler conversation that now has expanded to not just our people, but our neighbors in the building. And we're creating communities where we work. I'm wondering, to both Jacobo and Gilberto, how has office design changed for you? For us, for example, now all of our conversations are on accounts, so we need to have smaller spaces so that we don't interrupt other people when we're on the computer talking to somebody else. We have spaces to collaborate. Have your clients been asking for that? How have you met that need? And how do you see affecting your clients? Jacobo, Gilberto.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick, two examples. So we did a 20,000 square foot build out for a Fortune 500 company, and I would say 40% of that space was for areas to hang out. I can't name the tenant, but they even built not only a beautiful cafeteria, but they also have a coffee shop within that 20,000 square feet for their employees. Areas where you have booths where you can converse like a diner throughout the office. So the layout use is completely different. So we're finding that large organizations, and what we saw before is that offices were an extension of the employee's home, and they would decorate, their cubes. That's no longer done because you no longer have a cube assigned to you. You arrive and you through your phone, you can, choose a desk that's available that day. And so that ownership is different, and the social areas are important. That's on the large, company scale. The other thing that we have seen to attract the smaller, professionals or employees is that we haven't gone, in all places the WeWorks route, but we have created small offices, 120 square feet, 240 square feet that you can rent for a month, 3 months, and it's probably the most rentable area in the building on a per square foot basis. So again, you have to figure out how the consumer is changing and make sure that you have options for that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Gilberto, any notes from Paulson Group?
No, I totally agree with Jacobo and with Greg. The pandemic changed the I forgot the importance, what is important in our lives. Mm-hmm. So, and as Jacobo mentioned, it is important independently of the line of business that you are, which is your scope, which is your target. Our clients right now, in my case, it's a bit different because as a Class A office building, we also have other community of tenants that are looking for things that are different, and also in our case we have our lender is a U.S. bank, and their requirements in regards of small spaces and the short-term deals, is restrictable.
Restricted, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I can't make a lease or a deal less than 3 years. Okay. So in our case, we try to play with that. and how we can, you know, for this, as an example, we have analyzed to have an operator that can do WeWorks, but for us, we just need to have a long-term deal. If WeWork want to have a, or the structure, business structure that, not to name Bella, WeWork, because there are other companies that do the same.
Shared spaces, we'll call them shared spaces.
Share spaces, sorry about that. For us, it's important to find the operator. During the pandemic, one thing that we made during the pandemic was, in order to secure that the amenities still at the building, we transform ourselves in the operator of the cafeteria. We transform ourselves in the operators to make sure that the amenities stay there. So right now that the pandemic, thank God, is over, we are now looking for operators for the cafe, operators for the wellness center, operators for everything. So
that sounds like a great opportunity for anybody here that operates shared spaces or restaurants. It's a great opportunity.
Yes, sir. I will be at the end of the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gilberto. Now, moving forward, we've gone from industrial parks, where there was just buildings filled with offices, and we talked about everybody going home, taking their computers. Now we tell them, come back. Don't come back to an industrial park. Las Brisas, Paulson have evolved. You brought in amenities. You've transformed buildings. You're selecting an office that fits the cultural needs, and we're balancing it out. How do we see it coming into the future? Okay, we're at that point. I think that we're better balanced now. Our employees, we're finding a place for or building places for our employees to come. But as we move into the future, or then we're finishing the conversation, over the next 5 years, where do you see going this continuous change, or have we met that happy place of moving from an industrial park to a community type of work-living environment, that balance? How do you see it moving along in the future?
Well, I saw a great meme about this. I think that in the future, all of our jobs are just going to be taken over by the AI.
Well, somebody's got to give it prompts.
That's right. No, the serious answer is I really believe that this hybrid model is where people are able to have. I think that people don't always know exactly what's in their own best interests. Like, I do think that from my perspective, you have to tell the employees when you want them to come in and have it be coordinated. I think that if you let it be a free-for-all, people will sometimes do things that are maybe not even in their own self-interest, not in the best interests of the business. And so I do think that it's leadership's jobs to provide a framework and also to listen, take feedback, and continue to evolve over time.
So human nature balance. I want
to say, I think you're going to see more corporations do things like what Greg did with his business, that he went, into a place that typically you wouldn't have a large company setting up shop in an entertainment center. But you're seeing that where companies as brands, they're choosing where they want to be, and they want to be in locations that reflect their identity. So as we're working on a project in Paseo Caribe, which many of you know, and we're converting Paseo Caribe into a park. We're actually putting 45 trees. We're creating in the plaza, bringing energy. We started broadcasting a morning show en la mañana de Tele 11. And what does that have to do with office? Well, it's about creating the right environment for your tenants to thrive. And we felt that mix that may not seem a park and a Rockefeller Center type setup. Well, it does bring the energy, and it's about what you're trying to create, the right environment to attract the brands or specific parts of the community into your properties. And now that is something that is acceptable, whereas 5 years ago, that would have been a much, much tougher sell.
Gilberto, any closing remarks?
No, that's a great closing.
well, thank you so much. As we all, as I said at the beginning, we're all either employers or employees. And as we build our organizations and make them stronger, we need to build culture. And we need to understand how real estate is part of that, building that culture, how our real estate partners can help us build an environment that is inviting, so our employees want to come, want to collaborate, and create a balance between work and life, which I believe is the future. You know, where work is not going to be an 8 to 5 in a place, but we're going to have a place to collaborate, to meet, and we'll be able to take our work where we go, have AI do a lot of it, and the rest, putting the people together, because that's when we make their best work. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, we'd love to look at them, listen to them. Any questions? Anyone? Well, oh, great.
I'll take a crack at that. You know, what we're finding is occupancy rates have never been higher in Puerto Rico in office, but you have to think about that in the last 17 years, no new office buildings have been built. So that's one point, addressing that absorption. Act 60 has also helped. When you look at our 2 million square feet, around 9% of our tenants, our rent roll, are Act 60s. So that's also helping absorb. Where you see a lot of vacancy are what in the industry we call C and D properties, that they have a lot of deferred maintenance, and you have pockets where you have a lot of that. Building new office space, it's now starting, but it's for end users. So Popular is building, you know, a bigger campus. They're relocating employees back into the Atorrey core. Oriental has done the same thing, and that's leaving some vacancies. But building new office space for local tenants, it's financially not viable. Also, to your point, cap rates in Puerto Rico over the last 10 years didn't have the appreciation that you've seen in the US since '08. So the crisis that is looming in the US, we don't think it's going to be as drastic at all in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you agree, Gilberto.
No, totally agree. Also, the construction costs are extremely higher. So, yes, having, as Jacobo mentioned, occupancy rates in Puerto Rico, the average is not what we use or would like to have to be. In my case specifically, our buildings are an average 86%, which is good, but it's not what we can told that is the rule. If you see in Atorrey only, we have more than 300,000 rental square feet available in Atorrey, available for lease. So we have do the assignment to understand what is and what we do need to do. Our friends from Banco Popular are doing a great work in La Milla de Oro as well, developing some areas that could, you know, as my co-panelists, new friends mentioned before, to create the right ambience and the right environment that brings nature and to feel your office like more homey. I believe this is the right word to say it. So people can get more, you know, the rules have changed, and the work comes into our families, and we need to feel the family in our work. So people are always, you know, happy, you know, and feel, as long as our employees feel our empathy, they will be with us, and they will give the extra mile because they feel like we are engaged with them, we take care of them, and we are preparing the space so everyone can feel comfortable.
Thank you so much. Jacobo, Gilberto, Greg, it's been a great panel. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much. Have a great day.